We're back in Destiny 2. Um, for the Xur video. It's a late Xur video, but it's better late than never, I guess. For this weekend, Xur is in the tower. More specifically, he is in the courtyard. So once you land there, just follow where I go, and I'll take you to him. I have not looked at what Xur has at all this weekend. Hopefully he has some good stuff. But yeah, let's see. Once you get to the hangar, you just turn left. He hasn't really changed where he comes. If he does come in the tower, he's right here. Alright. Oh, I completed this knowledge quest. Pretty good. Alright, let's start with the exotic weapon, which is the Heartlights, an exotic auto rifle. Now, weapon perks are polygonal rifling, alloy magazine, the fundamentals, composite stock. Heartlight does have a catalyst. The intrinsic trait is volatile lights. Basically, the rounds bounce off surfaces. And the projectiles or the bullets actually do damage when they bounce off surfaces. Heartlight is pretty decent in PvP. It's actually pretty useful in PvE as well because of this perk, the fundamentals. Basically, it can act as a void weapon, solar weapon, or arc weapon. So you can use it like in GMs, raids, to take those shields off of those enemies that correspond with the energy. I would highly recommend getting Heartlight, even if you don't have it. Even if you don't want to use it, it can come in handy one day, and you'll use it and you'll have it. Moving on to the exotic armor. Xur has Lucky Raspberry, which is an exotic chest plate for the hunter. The armor perk is Probability Matrix. Basically improves arcbow grenades with the chaining effect that it has. Damaging enemies with jotes, lightning strikes, and collecting ionic traces, but grant additional arcbow grenade energy. Arcbow grenades stun overload champions and delay their health regeneration. So it's pretty good. I mean, you get your arcbow grenade energy back if you jolt enemies and you collect ionic traces. And if you use arc hunter a lot and you love arcbow grenades, Lucky Raspberry is actually pretty useful in that sense. The discipline is pretty high too. It's the second highest. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. Total stun 64. You can also use this in GMs, I guess, or any place that has overload champions. Even though I think there's other better hunter armor out there, but yeah. All in all, I wouldn't mind getting this even if you don't have it yet. It can be useful. You never know. Moving on to the White-Eyed Mask, which is exotic helmet for the Titan. The armor perk is Vengeance. Highlights the target who dares to damage you. So basically, you get damaged by an enemy, and you know who the enemy to damage you is. When you track down that enemy, and you defeat them, you get an overshoot. This is pretty decent in Crucible. It was actually really good at one period of time. For Titans, it ruled the Crucible. But it did get nerfed. It's still pretty decent. Don't get me wrong. It's still pretty good. The total stance is 67. It has high mobility, which, I mean, I don't know why you would need it on a Titan. The discipline is pretty high too if you like using your grenades a lot. But you're not looking at the stats for White-Eyed Mask. The perk is basically what you're gonna use White-Eyed Mask for, and it's actually pretty decent in the Crucible. So if you don't have it yet, I highly recommend getting it. Last but not least, Xur has the Getaway Artists, which are exotic gauntlets for the Warlock. The armor perk is Dynamic Duo. Basically, you convert your arc grenade into an arc soul, and it becomes more powerful since it becomes an autonomous turret. Basically, a little turret on your shoulder. The stats are a total of 66 with high recovery and high discipline. You actually need a lot of discipline, so this is pretty good because you would want your grenades to come back quicker, so you can turn them into arc souls and use the perk Dynamic Duo. It's actually pretty decent, so I would highly recommend getting the Getaway Artist if you use Arc Warlock a lot. Moving on to the Hawkmoon, the Xur has. It has Quick Draw. Pretty decent, I guess. If you like pulling out Hawkmoon quicker than your enemy, it's pretty decent. I would get it if you don't have one, or if you have a bad Hawkmoon. This is pretty decent to get. Like always, Xur has an exotic Ingram, which you can get for 97 legendary shards. Moving on to the legendary weapons, starting with Whispering Slab, which is a combat bow. The perks are Archer's Temple and Swashbuckler, pretty decent actually. If you like using bows and you like to be annoying in the Crucible, this is actually pretty decent to get. Moving on to the Dauntless, which is a sniper rifle. It has Firmly Planted, Firing Line, and Land Tank. It's pretty decent for PvE, I guess. Has a Firmly Planted and Firing Line. I'm pretty sure you can craft this weapon. If not, you can always get this. It's pretty good. Moving on to the Drang, which is a sidearm. It has Moving Target and Churnabouts. I would say get this because of Moving Targets, since Drang is still pretty good in the Crucible. Other than that, I'm pretty sure you can craft this weapon too. If you can't, you should get this just for Moving Target alone. Moving on to the DS side, I think that's what it's called, which is a shotgun. The weapon perks are Slice Shot and 1-2 Punch. It's actually pretty decent for the Crucible. And for PvE, even though there's better shotguns out there for PvP, you could get this for PvE, I guess. Since it's also a rapid fire frame, it can help out. Moving on to the Outlaws, which is a pulse rifle. It has Keep Away, Opening Shots. Opening shots on a pulse rifle is, it's eh. I would suggest just moving along. There's better pulse rifles out there. Moving on to the Honor's Edge, which is a sword. It has Relentless Strikes and Shattering Blade. I mean, if you don't have a sword, a good one, I guess you can use this one. Alright, and last but not least, Eternity's Edge, which is another sword. Weapon perks are Infinite Guard, Energy Transfer, and Counterattack. Yes, it sounds pretty decent for PvP, even though I don't really use swords in PvP. But I guess you can get it for PvP. I don't know, I don't really use swords. But yeah, that's all for Xur this weekend.